question us this: what are the format of Viva Voce? Perhaps you do not know what's going on in the Viva Voce, and then how do you want to cram our 2 years master project or 4 years or 3 years of PhD project into just 15 and 20 minutes? So what should be there on the slide? And then we would like, I mean, of course, the students would wonder what kind of question will be asked, and most importantly, how can we appear confident in front of the examiners? Okay, and if you can spend some time, what would you imagine your Viva session will be? Is it going to be just like the figure A, or just like the figure B, or just like a figure C? Okay, if you ask me, before I actually submitted my thesis, I imagining that my Viva Voce session will be like in figure A, okay, where it's everybody is focusing and focusing on you and trying to find mistakes on you. But just before the Viva session, I imagine that to make myself calm, I would like to imagine it as in I just being interviewed, and people would like to know what's within the scope of research that I'm doing, and they just simply want to know what exactly that I did in my thesis. So in order to, I would try to share with you today, how could you actually come from your nasty imagination to the actual imagination that you would like to have it in your Viva session. Okay, all right. So this would be the content that I will cover for this session. I tried to cover the purpose, okay, the expectation, what are the process, how can you prepare for your Viva Voce, and some tips or tricks, how not to screw in your Viva Voce, and what are the strategy lah. All right. So hopefully at the end of this session, you'll get some insight on the process taking place in Viva, and you can therefore make necessary preparation for your Viva session, and eventually face that Viva session with flying colors. All right. As has been explained by Dr. Shafiq just now, I personally is a homegrown researcher from UiTM. I graduated from the UiTM in biomass energy, okay, in School of Chemical Engineering in 2015. Um, um, and then got a few years of experience in the industry, and then after I continue my profession as lecturer in UiTM lah. Okay, at the same time, along the way in UiTM, I've been reviewer for several journals, publisher, also the copy editor for Malaysian Journal of Chemical Engineering, UiTM. So we welcome all papers from all of you. Okay, also the associate editor in Frontier Journals, and I've been panels with research proposal evaluation, and also some master or doctoral thesis evaluator. So perhaps whatever that we have or I have, I would like to share with all of you so that you can take some benefit. So I've been with the head of postgraduate studies in 2015 to 2017. And I think one of the main tasks that I bring change to the School of Chemical Engineering at that time is that we bring the Viva Voce handled in the faculty. At that time, it's faculty. Before this, the Viva Voce is actually handled by IPSIS. And the thing is, because IPSIS need to handle the whole students in UiTM, so the time from the time you submit until the time you get your Viva session, it took ages. Okay, in my case, it's about 9 months. Okay, but typically, after we bring it to the faculty, we could have it a minimum of 3 months. Within 3 months, you can have a Viva session. And I think that has been the practice in the faculty, in the school, and in the college. And that is a very, how to say, a very uh, advantage lah to you, because at least you can plan so many other things. Because once you submit your thesis, the next one is you need to plan for your Viva. All right. So before I proceed further, I just want to recap these postgraduate studies timeline. Okay. So I think all of us have gone through this defense of research proposal, where we would like to confirm whether or not our research plans are valid, okay, in terms of is there any novelty, are the objectives set properly, are there problem statements related to your objective, and the methodology is set accordingly. Okay, so that's basically your the purpose of defense research proposal. Then you will have to execute your research. This is the most tiring session. You get your results. If you don't get your results, you do it again and again until you get your result. You do some data analysis, and when the important time comes whereby your supervisor said that your thesis is fit for submission for evaluation to get your PhD or your master degree. Okay, so this is the most exciting part, yet tiring, and also how to say, it full of wonders lah. Okay, you are wondering of what kind of report that you will get in return, what kind of Viva session that you will face, and so on and so forth. Okay. So after thesis submission, as I shown here, you have the thesis defense, and lastly, then you have your final thesis submission. So I would like you guys to give focus on this between the thesis defense and also thesis submission section, because here after Viva session, if you don't submit your thesis on time, you would eventually don't get your degree. So please, after Viva, it's not just hooray time. You have the most important thing to submit, at least to IPSIS, before the due date. Okay. Sometimes students they submit this last minute to the extent that you exceeded the time given to you, and eventually you don't get the degree. So it's very frustrating lah, because you have gone through all the process, all the tiring process, but when you get to the final round, you don't eventually get your thesis. Yeah, I mean your degree. Okay, so Viva Voce actually happens between these two in this section section, but if we talk about getting a good session in Viva Voce, you have to make sure the stage here before your thesis submission is actually superb. Okay, I've seen a question from audience earlier. It says that how can I get pass without correction? That would require you to go back to the point where you submit your thesis, or even to the point where you prepare you execute your research, because normally examiners they will evaluate your thesis. If they find everything is okay, then only you get the results, whether it's no correction, minor correction, or major correction. Okay, so we have, I think if we have cases, I'm not sure cases of case whereby we have uh Viva without any correction. So meaning to say that you don't have to go back, run your experiments, or address the comments from examiner to correct your thesis, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is an important session. Okay, so between your thesis submission and thesis defense, this is where your examiners are doing their job, the postgraduate admin are doing their job, and also the students are doing your job. Okay, I said here duration should be 1 month or 1 year. This is based on my experience. 1 month ni terlalu optimis lah, because normally examiners were given 1 month to prepare to evaluate the thesis. So after that, then we can arrange we can arrange the Viva session. Okay, so if you look here, the examiners is given 1 month, and then once the thesis, when the evaluation report returned to the school or faculty, then we'll need to arrange the session. And then most of the time will be given at least 2 weeks before the Viva session itself. Okay. That's why I said once you submit, it would be best if you prepare for your Viva immediately rather than you wait until you get this notification. I think it will be too late. Then you get panic attack, and there is where you cannot do anything. So kat situ you kata tawakal, but it's a very wrong way of tawakal lah. Okay. So if you want to tawakal means you start habis submit thesis, then you immediately prepare you punya presentation and all lah. Okay. So students, as I said, students, you need to plan physically, mentally, and spiritually. All right. We'll see this part elaborate in detail after this. Okay, so just to answer the question, what is thesis defense or Viva Voce? It's basically an oral examination. Okay, typically for academic qualification, and the word actually derived from Latin with the living voice. So we want to evaluate you not only on the paper, because sometimes people can write nice things. People can hire someone to write your thesis, but we would like to see whether or not you are the person who write the thesis, you are the person who conduct the experiment. So that's why we want to have the Viva Voce session. So the purpose here is actually to get confirmation whether or not it's of your own work or writing, and the work is actually publishable. Okay, and then we want to see whether you have a deep understanding, the readiness of you to be an independent researcher. So sometimes, as I said just now, you can write a good thesis, but perhaps you are not ready to be independent researcher. To the extent that when we ask question, you would refer back to your supervisor. The way you answer question also reflect whether you are independent researcher or not. Okay. The next purpose is actually to get some validation. Is it worth being awarded the degree, whether it's master or PhD, and obviously whether or not you are competent research, have good command of your subject in the area. Okay, moving on to the next one. What to expect from your Viva session? Okay, I think most of us are nervous because we do not know what to expect in the session. And let's see what we have. Okay, so in thesis defense or Viva Voce, it's basically an oral examination or oral presentation. So students have to present the outcome of the research and to defend the outcome of your research. If there is any ambiguity, examiners will ask questions, and you have to verify or answer the question or justify whatever that the examiners ask in the session. So the duration is basically typically between 1 to 2 hours. Itu ideal. Okay. Later on, I'll cerita detail. Okay. It could be more depending on the severity of the evaluation. Right. And assessment, we'll talk about assessment later on, and also the results that you will get. All right. So here when we say oral examination, oral presentation, I'm going to talk into 2 items here, which is the audience and also whether it's formal or informal. Sorry about this. Apa nama? Nampak ke tak ni? Tak nampak. Apa ni? Tak perasan nak besarkan dia. Okay. So audience, depending on the university, okay. Sometimes the audience are not just examiners. Okay. If you are if I'm not mistaken, when I was in Manchester last time, this PhD student, they have to present to all of us, to public. They have to present to public. They have to have a public lectures to industry, students, lecturers, or communities maybe. Okay, and sometimes you can also have a closed session, just like what has been practiced in UiTM. Okay, in UiTM we have a closed session between the examiners, the supervisors, the candidate itself, and also the postgraduate administration. administrative personnel. We don't have other students cannot come to the session and look at the session itself. Okay, tidak dibenarkan. Melainkan if you are the supervisor or the co-supervisor. And then we have a formal or informal session. It's basically discussion based on thesis, question and answer, without any prior presentation. We do have a session like this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, from the experience of my friends, it's in UK as well. He's the one who arranged the discussion session. He go buy the coffee, um, book the meeting room, and then they have the discussion without any presentation. And in UITM itself, it's compulsory for students to present and followed by the question and answer session. You are given, I think, 20 minutes for master. Yang tu kena check balik 20 minutes for master and 30 minutes for PhD. And then followed by the question and answer session. And the question and answer session, as long as the examiner is satisfied with the justification or the answer, that is where you can stop. All right. So I just want to share with you some practices in other universities. Okay, for example, in German, you have for your Viva Voce, you have to present a public lecture, different topic than the PhD work, to industry, students, lecturers, and communities. For example, I'm doing on biomass energy. I would want to present in the public lecture on AI, for example. So it's most of the time not the related topic. Okay. Later on, then you can have you will have the closed session with examiner, supervisor, and also postgraduate administrative. So same goes in UK. You have both the public lecture and closed session. In Australia and New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, no. And in Australia, for sure, you don't have any Viva. So you just submit your thesis, and later on you get the thesis evaluation report, and then only you will be announced whether you pass or fail the thesis. I mean the degree. Okay. So in Japan, you have public lecture to industry students, and most of the time is the uh, members of the lab. Okay, and then you have closed session with examiners, mainly a simple question. Panels are similar to the progress presentation panel, and most of the time there is no correction after the session, as the thesis submitted is in the form of accepted publication. Not like us in UITM, the publication is just publication. Thesis is you have a specific format of the thesis. Okay. And then you have in US, I think they still have the presentation to panel industry and a closed session. And in Malaysia, most of the time, we present to only the panel Viva, which is the examiner's chairperson. And then it's a closed session, as I mentioned just now, right? Basically, in UITM, we have examiners, chairperson, and we have minutes taker, okay, in the system. In the session. I'll show you later on. All right. In terms of duration, as I mentioned here, it depending on the university, but typically it will be in 20 minutes for MSc and 30 minutes for PhD. And question and answer session, it depends on the severity of your thesis. So if you want to make sure your session is just like what I showed just now, like the interview session, so make sure your thesis that you submit is all error-free, clear writing style, concise, precise, not choppy. Okay, and then and obviously the overall sessions depends as early as 1 hour you dah habis dah, or it could took you the whole day. I have managed a Viva session whereby it took the whole day. In fact, they actually take the examiner to the lab, okay, to make the examiner understand what they are trying to do. Okay, so that to me is the among the how to say the worst scenario lah, but it's not worst. She still passed, but I mean that is the kind of expectation that you should prepare lah. All right. So in terms of assessment, In UITM, we have this practice. Okay, most of the time, we have one internal examiner and one external examiner. So depending in university, the internal examiner is actually in local, and then the external examiner is overseas. But in UITM, internal examiner means internal within UITM, not within college or not within faculty. As long as we have expert in the area, even though it's of different college, of different campus, we still consider that as internal examiner, as long as there is no conflict of interest. Okay, and whereby external examiner, this is typical. Yeah? For master, we have one external examiner, which is, it could be anywhere outside UiTM. Okay, most of the time we take university from Malaysia lah. And then for PhD in UiTM, we have one internal, one external local, and one external international. Okay, so yang mana buat PhD, so please take note lah. So that is why it will be good practice if while you are still doing your research, please please attend conferences so that you can get connected, meet new people, and therefore they, if you know them, you can invite them to be the examiners for your thesis. Okay, but again, please check with the recent regulation from IPSIS. As far as I remember, this one's still valid lah. Okay, to ensure the quality of the thesis or research is part and beyond the standard. So that's why we want we have the external examiners. Okay, right. So again, I would like to mention here in who will attend the session. In UITM, we have examiners, chairperson, supervisors, and minutes taker. Okay, and they are all mandatory. Okay, supervisor is optional lah. Supervisor tak boleh datang, tak ada masalah. But most of the time, supervisors are invited. Okay, whether who decide the presence, examiners will be examiners will propose the supervisor will propose the examiners to the committee, to KPPS, and then they have the meeting. Then only they approve whether the examiner can be your examiner. Okay, so this actually proposed by the supervisor. Okay, the rest is actually decided by the university. Who are the chairperson to attend, who are the minutes taker to attend, is actually decided by, in this case, KPPS lah. Okay, and then who can ask question and not. The only people that can ask question in the session is or are the examiners. Okay, chairperson, although he's there, he chaired the session, he or she cannot ask any question. Okay, supervisor cannot ask or cannot answer any question, and therefore the minutes taker pun cannot ask any question. Are you clear so far? Boleh dapat ke? Yep. Alright. So I hope you this one is clear. Next one. We talk about the verdict. Okay. So this is the most how to say, paling seram lah, because in my case I do not know what is going on waktu Viva. I tak tahu apa dia punya verdict. So for your information, also depending on university, okay, typically these are the verdict. I think in UiTM pun dia pakai 4, tak silap. Okay, the first one is pass without correction. Yang ni, you don't need to the thesis need not, the corrected thesis need not to be evaluated lah. Kalau ada pun mungkin sikit-sikit supervisor can verify. So most of the time is without correction. Kita ada satu session, maybe KPPS can invite that person to share with you how he managed, or what are the tips to make sure that the thesis that he prepared is actually and how he prepare himself that can allow him to pass without correction. Okay, and then we have pass with minor correction. When we say minor correction, in my time, minor correction itself took about 6 months. Okay, And what happened is that if you got minor correction, you can submit as long as you want, as soon as you want. But that thesis need to be evaluated again. The corrected thesis need to be evaluated again by the internal examiner. Most of the time, once you completed your thesis, I mean the corrected thesis, okay, you'll pass the corrected thesis to internal examiner, and internal examiner will be given some duration of time, I think 1 month or 2 weeks, something like that. Then only they will return to you. If there is any correction for any further correction, you will have to do it, and supervisor will verify that. Then only you can submit for hard work. Okay, so that is minor correction. There's another result that we have, that is major correction. Okay, in my time, major correction means you get 12 months of 12 months duration for you to correct the thesis. In this case, if this happens, the external examiner will have to evaluate that thesis as well. Okay, again. Okay, sometimes under this major correction, you have the option of with reviver or without reviver. So kalau boleh, kita tak nak reviver. We don't want any, even though if you got major, we don't want, ideally, we don't want reviver because it's so stressful lah. You nak kena go through the session again, kan? Okay, and lastly is fail lah. Okay, lastly is fail. If you ask me, how do we decide whether we want to be minor or major? Okay, this is entirely based on the examiner. Okay, examiner will have to evaluate whether everything is okay. Major would means that you might want to do further analysis, or you might want to do additional laboratory session. So that's why you've been given that long duration to allow you to verify certain results, things like that. So that's why you get major correction. Or otherwise, if everything is okay, it's just a correction on the thesis without you doing any further experimentation. So most of the time you'll get the minor correction. I think with recent practice, the duration for minor correction is already changed. It's no longer 6 months. If I'm not mistaken, it's only 3 months. Okay, but you have to check with IPSIS. And then for major correction, if I'm not mistaken, it's only 6 months. So yang ni kena check balik lah because I give this in based on my previous practice. Okay so far? Right. Next, I would like to share with you the process. Okay, what happened during and after a Viva session. Okay, so now that you know what is Viva, what to expect. Okay, so let's see the process. What's going on in the session. So this is the actual scene. I took when I was KPPS. Okay, so you will see that we have one chairperson. Okay, we have external examiner. We have internal examiner, we have minutes taker, and this is the candidate. Right? So most of the time, sometimes dia jadi gelak-gelak session. It's not a stressful session. It's more on like you just want to verify, you just want to I've seen that the session is more on like gelak-gelak session. But there are also cases whereby to the extent that the examiner bang the table. So there is also cases whereby you bang the table. Yang tu it's orang kata, it depends on how you deal with the examiner lah, and how you deal with the answering the question. Okay, so this is typical scene as I mentioned just now. Chairperson, external examiner, internal examiner, minutes taker, and Viva candidate. Whether it's PhD or whether it's panggil apa? Master, we will have this setting. Okay, the supervisor akan duduk kat belakang, the postgrad admin akan duduk kat belakang. Right, so they will have this setting. For PhD, we don't invite external examiner coming to the Viva Voce session. The external examiner, I mean international external examiner, will only provide the report. They don't involve in the Viva session. Okay, so whether you are in MSc or PhD, so this is typical setting. Uh, so kalau orang kata the smaller the better lah. If you have a bigger room, it could be difficult for you to make sure that you project or you project your voice out well, because that's why yang in our time we have this small meeting room, so to ensure that it's really a close session lah, yeah. Now that during COVID, they have online session. So at that point, I think it's quite stressful juga, because sometimes we have problems with connections. So the tips is don't get so stressful. Sometimes shit happens, so you just have to follow the flow lah, yeah. So don't get so stressful. Inshallah, everything the function of the chairperson and the function of the examiner, internal examiner, is to make sure that you eventually pass the get the degree. So that's all. It's not that they want to make sure you fail the degree. They, as much as possible, they would like you to get the degree. But their function is actually to make sure, as I mentioned just now lah, for all the purpose that I mentioned earlier. Okay. All right. So during the Viva, we have okay. These are the things that will be happening during the Viva. So the first thing that will happen is that the chairperson will introduce the students and panels. Okay. So and then they will have some brief procedures, what are do's and don'ts, and then it will have the presentation. Then you will have the quick, not the quick, you will have the detailed question and answer session. So later on, I'll share to you what are typical question for warm-up question and what are the typical question for in-depth, the tinggal hitch pula, in-depth questions. So in-depth means later on they'll go through the thesis page by page or chapter by chapter whenever necessary lah. All right. And then we'll have panel discussion. And then with this one panel discussion, normally we'll invite the supervisor and also panel and also student to leave the room. Okay, kalau they're online, then you will have to exit the online session. Later on, you'll be called by the postgraduate admin to enter the session again. But if it's physical meeting, you'll have to leave the room, okay, keluar. Sometimes it takes more than few minutes, okay, because they need to, it will be difficult if, especially for PhD, because you have 3 examiners, if each of them give different results. So this is the function of chairperson to consolidate the results, to come to how to say consensus of what is the final verdict for the students. Okay. And then you'll be called in back to announce the results. Okay, ni ikut chairperson lah. Dia chairperson ni dia suka buat gimmick. Ada chairperson ni dia straightforward je. Kan, so this is the part where you will hear the verdict, whether you pass without correction, minor correction, major correction, or eventually, or the worst case is actually fail lah. Okay, so far I haven't seen any cases whereby you fail the Viva session so far lah. So I think you should be happy to hear that lah, because I know that the purpose of we doing the master is to get the degree. Eventually, of course, to get the experience lah. Alright. So far tak ada fail lagi. Paling teruk sekali I rasa is major with reviver. Yang tu paling teruk pernah ada lah. And then once you dah announce, you have a photography session, and then you will have to meet your postgrad admin because they will need to brief you what you need to do next. Okay, that's why especially you need to take note of the due date. Okay, that you need to submit to the examiner for evaluation. If it's exceeded the given date, possibly you won't get the degree. Okay. Just want to go back to here. Normally, after kita dah brief ni tadi, I think I missed one before you present. Okay, panel will ask the supervisor and student to leave the session for a while. They need to do some panggil apa preliminary discussion lah before you present. Okay, they get some idea of what are the results that you want to give and what are the concern, what are the focus that you want to focus during your presentation. So then after that, baru you dibenarkan, they will call you back in to do the presentation. So that means there will be two two times discussion between the panels. So jangan you terkejut pula, dah kenapa kena panggil keluar ni? Aku buat salah ke? Tak present lagi dah kena keluar. No, that is the process, that is the procedure. Okay? Whether or not it will be an easy way or not an easy way, I tak boleh nak cakap because sometimes panel discussion tu lama tapi bila you present tengok okay pula. Okay? And sometimes the panel discussion sekejap tapi sebenarnya you actually get the not a good results. Alright? Okay. Okay so far? Got the idea of what's going on in the session? Yep. Alright. So now I'm going to go on the preparation that typically one can do, okay, how to say, for apa ni, for Fiverr. Okay, typically these are the things that you can do to prepare for your Fiverr. Okay, I took in my case because when I just to share with you, in my case when I did my when I had my Viva before that, I took leave I think about a week or two. Okay, because waktu tu I dah kerja, so I need to take leave so that I won't be disturbed by all this work commitment. I just want to focus on reading the thesis and preparing myself spiritually or mentally, physically. Okay, but bila tengok balik, sebenarnya if you are a last minute person, then eventually last minute tu juga yang you buat, kan? So, well, whatever it is, make sure when you come to your Viva session, you come in peace. Okay, tak nak stress. Alright. So what you can do to prepare for your Viva, the first one is actually let me see. Oh, I dah okay. Sekejap I terbase dia punya ni. Okay, you read the thesis. Okay, read the thesis, the submitted one. Okay, don't take the version yang sebelum ni. Read the one that you submit to the examiners. Okay, spot mistakes, prepare plausible explanation or justification, and read again and again. Okay, and then tadi I kata read thesis kan, tengok mistake. Okay, now you have to review the thesis, but now with the lens of examiner. Okay, you try to read the thesis in this case, more of like what is wrong with your thesis. Okay, so in the perspective of examiner lah, if you nak tanya soalan, you tanya apa. Okay, and in fact it would be good during you punya postgraduate study, if your supervisor can get you how to say experience of reviewing some journal paper or conference paper, that would be also a good experience on how you should spot something wrong with your thesis. Okay, and then in my case I gather references because I was told I checked with my colleagues who had Viva session earlier. In her experience, she had to show the, her Viva session is to the extent that she had to show the reference, okay, of that one particular reference that she has to show to the examiner. They want to see. So it would be good idea if you can make sure that the important reference are actually in place for you to refer it back and verify when it's being asked, if it's being asked. I did prepare the references, but it was I was not being it was not being asked during the session. Okay, so let's move on here. We prepare the slide presentation. Okay, in my case, we used to have mock Viva earlier, and I think that is a very good session for you to really experience the Viva session itself. Okay, so what happened is when I for my actual Viva, I simply use the slide that I prepared for my mock Viva. I only improve a bit here and there, especially based on the comment that the examiner during my mock Viva that they gave to me. Okay, I think in my mock Viva, the examiners focus on how I wrote my problem statements and how I link that to my objective. Okay. And then it would be good as well if you can have some background insights of your examiners, because you will see, because examiners, they are not, how to say, you are not expert in all areas. So you are being called as examiner to cover this portion of the report, okay, of the thesis. So most of the time examiners, they have some inclination on of the thesis. Okay, so if once you have the background inside of the examiners, at least you know that I'm going to be asked on the simulation, for example, or I'm going to be asked on kinetics, or perhaps I'm going to be asked on um uh I don't know, maybe on the fundamental, for example. So you have to see the possible examiners inclination, so that at least you can prepare yourself on that aspect. In my case, my examiner is quite an expert in um RSM, response surface methodology. So most of the questions are being asked on that how to say, on that topic. Okay, so the next one is obviously pray and sleep well. I think we are all Muslim. Even so, please make sure that the only one that can help you during the session is nobody else except Allah. Okay, so make sure you have your power doa, sleep well, fresh your mind for the next day. Because frankly speaking, if sleep late, okay, especially when your Viva session is in the morning, I think it's quite orang kata stressful lah. Kan, kepala tak function lagi, dah kena apa? Present kan. Bukan present saja, dengan nak menjawab soalan semualah. Right? In my case, Alhamdulillah, how to say, I eventually understand what's going on with my thesis only a day before my Viva session. I only understand what is the meaning of novelty only a day after my before my Viva session, and therefore once I know that, I feel happy and quite in peace. And therefore, the next day, I tell myself that you just have to come to the Viva session, imagining that your examiners are interested to know more about your project because they want to buy your project, something like that. Okay, because then only I feel, oh, okay, orang nak beli I punya barang, so why should I be so stressful? So explain je lah. Okay, so having that in mind, I think it makes me feel a big peace, and I can think wisely and speak wisely speak well during the session. All right. Now, what should be on the slide? I think this is among the question that most of the students ask, because we have done the PhD. In my case, it's quite a long journey. I think I took about few years to complete my PhD. I'm not a GOT punya student. I'm graduate overtime student. Still GOT, but overtime. Okay. So how do you want to make sure that you put them all on the slide that fit only 30 minutes? Okay. I'm going to share you some of rules lah. Okay. Here in your slide, what should be on the slide? Basically, what you want to highlight is the novelty. Some people, I personally am quite allergic of term novelty lah. Kan? Novelty apa? Novelty tu apa sebenarnya? Kan? Uh, I'm so allergic. At that time, I still remember. Please don't ask me what is novelty. I don't know how to answer. Uh, kan? Novelty. But now boleh cakap lah kan? Novelty tu apa? Novelty tu apa? Alright. And highlight the most significant results, information or diagrams. Some students, they do not know which are the important results, which are the important information, which are the important diagrams or figures. Okay, so most of the time we typically have this process lah. I mean have these chapters. So kita akan ikut begini lah. In my case, I have it in here. Introduction, problem statement, objective, literature review or gap analysis, the methods, result and discussion, conclusion, recommendation, and references. Okay, and you can have one extra slide listing on your publication, conferences or other related achievement. For example, you said you join this innovation competition, you can also highlight it there lah. So that shows that you have some novelties. Okay. Number of slides. Okay. I would say you follow the one slide, 1 minute rule. If you say sometimes the slide is just like for makeup, so you can have few of them to organize in order to have an organized presentation, but make sure you know where and when to explain. Okay, so normally we use as one slide, 1 minute rule. Minimize text, maximize figure, and choice of presentation design. Yang last ni nampak macam petty, but to me it's important. Okay, because it gives some indication that you are clearly an independent researcher. You know how to present well, how to interact well, how to appear professional in academic setting. Okay, so make sure you have the right choice of presentation. I think I've seen some students use I don't know, especially in technical. To me, it should be clean and fresh. Tak perlu fresh as in ada bunga-bunga. Okay, stop that. Okay, bunga-bunga is not meant for, melainkan you do research in bunga lah. Alright, so all those design, make sure you choose the right design, the right font, the right colors that will attract the examiners, because it matters sebenarnya. Okay, the question being asked, to me, the first question they ask is actually on my slide. Okay, so make sure whatever you put on your slide, you know them inside out. So not just for makeup lah. Kena jawab lah. Do you know this one? Just now I see on the slide, you put this value, what does it mean? Kan? Padahal you nak buat benda tu is a makeup, tapi sebenarnya everything matters. Yep. Okay? Okay so far? Can I move on? Yes. Okay, so I just want to show you some sample presentation. This one is because I attended a few presentation as examiners, as observer, as chairperson, and I think this I'm not sure the person is here ke tak. So I use this as example lah. It's quite short, concise, precise presentation. Yang I rasa if you can practice this in your in preparing your Viva slide, it will be good. Okay. So what happened is that in this case they minimize the words yang memang you nak kena betul-betul words yang kita nak tengok is actually on your objective lah. Because that term we really want to check, make sure dia sama dengan apa yang dalam thesis. Okay. And also the rest is more on like how you want to make sure that the examiner understand what you are doing. Especially if you are doing fundamental research, it's too abstract, it's too complicated that it's difficult to explain in words. So you can actually use diagrams. Okay, so this fella, I tak tahu, I fall in love with the star. Okay, they have the problem statement in diagrams, they have the mechanism in diagrams, the one that they propose to do, and then they have the objective, okay, and methods together in one diagram. That is, to me, is excellent, because then we know that this objective is addressed by this method, and therefore by this is the result. So in this case, they have the objective, the methods, and also the results. Okay, in that manner. So it's quite easy to follow. So that is the main thing that one must take focus on. You must make sure when you present, it's easy to follow. Either you want to follow, how to say, either you want to go like this, in this manner, but in this fella dia tak ikut macam tadi lah. They just ikut introduction, public statement. They show some mechanism, they have the objective, and then they combine the methodology and the results together. And then they move to the next objective. They have the methodology and the results together, and move the next objective, methodology, and the results together. And later on, you buat conclusion. Okay, so you can do that. And I think it's an excellent, I think this is excellent lah pada I lah. Maybe some people may disagree with my choice lah kan. Okay, so this is one example that you can follow. This is typical. This is my example. Typically, give some motivation why I'm doing this research. I tried to, use the final concept. What is the bigger issue? Try to move down to the, you try to direct to the main issue, and you try to highlight the problem statement. Okay, what are your research objectives? Normally, PhD, in my case, we have 4 objectives. In master, we have 3 objectives. So I have my gap analysis here. I simplify it in this manner. Waktu ni memang orang kata tak ada masa dah. Dah tak larat dah. Okay, so memang I tulis because in this case I want to highlight on what are the current practice, what has not been done. So therefore it's actually you punya apa nama novelty lah of your project. Okay, and then you have your experiment framework, you have your diagram. So I follow the step macam just like the PC. Only that I tried to show that the results according to the objective. Okay, I do have 3 phases, but actually I punya results ada objective ada 4. So I try to relate between my phase of experimental framework dengan objective. For example, here my phase 1 experiments will address objective 1 and objective 2. Okay, so and I conclude what has been found in the phase 1 experiment. Then I move to the next phase or the next objective. So phase 2 will cover objective 3. Okay, and therefore the rest and it will follow through lah. Okay, so you can also have that in that manner. So only that you focus on extracting and giving the most important results that will conclude the overall research. Okay, the preliminary kalau tak perlu letak. Kalau you rasa this preliminary is important because it give me decision on the next experiment, then by all means you can put lah. Alright, and just want to show you some example of the slide. Okay, so the student showed the draft of the slide presentation in this manner. And then I tried to ask her to change it into the actual one. So she presented in different manner. Okay, if you can see that the left one, okay, kalau you tanya I lah, when I look at on the left hand side, the draft one, I rasa macam it's suitable to give talk to students, suitable to give talk to kids on because the font choice and the way you put the items are not in a professional manner lah. When I transform it into on the actual version tadi ni, so you will see that okay, it looks more professional, more serious, and when you see when you show just one diagram without any highlight or explanation, so dia tak nampak the impact. Okay, so for example, this diagram you want to show the synergistic effect, but how would you understand that concept if you just have one word? Okay, so ni dia tunjuk some diagram, so we see what are the relations. Okay, so remember yang I kata presentation should be a clean and right font choice semua. So this is the example lah on the left. Okay, I think the font choice dia jadi mengganggu lah. Nak cakap apa sebenarnya pada I lah. Yeah. Okay, so far? Yes? Any question? Alright. Okay, okay, let's move on. Okay, do you want to take a break and continue, or I want to take a break and then we continue after that, or you want me to continue and we if we complete later earlier, it will be best. Which one? Continue, doctor. All right, just proceed. All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's proceed. I think this is the most semua orang nak datang dia nak tahu yang ni lah. Okay. What are typical questions to be asked? Okay, frequently asked Viva question. Okay. Jadi memang orang tanya apa kalau dalam Viva, apa kita nak prepare? I mean, we already know what to prepare, but now how to prepare in terms of answering the question. Okay. Let's see what we have. Okay, remember earlier I mentioned that normally when we chair the session, we'll have 2 rounds of question and answer session. The first one is a warm-up session. The second one is a in-depth session. In-depth ni normally will go straight to your thesis. Okay, go straight to your thesis. And then we start going, kalau yang lagi teruk, dia akan pergi page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Okay, most of the time in my case, I just highlight, can we go to chapter 1? Do you have anything to highlight? They will highlight. I mean, they means the examiner lah. Okay, so let's see on the round 1 first lah. So maybe you can, if you want to prepare, you can prepare here. The warm-up session. Okay, normally memang akan tanya lah warm-up session sama ada from the slide or ikut dia lah nak tanya apa kan. Okay, and most of the time, the session will start with external examiner lah. Okay, sometimes external examiner ni dia tak terus warm up, dah terus tanya dah soalan yang very specific to your thesis. But most of the time kita akan minta, kita remind lah, okay, maybe you can give the general question lah. Orang kata apa, top list soalan yang akan tanya is normally orang akan tanya what is the novelty of your research or what makes your thesis work original. Itulah maksud dia. Okay. Original means tak sama lah dengan orang lain. Macam mana nak kata yours is original if your thesis is exactly the same as others kan. Dan normally there is some differences kan. So that's why kita kata novelty. Apa baharunya, okay, of your research work. So typical answer by candidates, dia bagi summary of the project, dia bagi highlight of changes of materials and parameters sahaja. But the expected answer or explanation from panels yang dia nak ialah you highlight on what was known before and address main contributions that you have added as part of being awarded your MSc PhD to contribute novel knowledge. Yang ini yang kita nak tengok. Yeah, that's why yang kata tadi gap analysis. Remember the gap analysis? Your problem statement, you do your gap analysis. You find out that, oh, okay, with this aspect, nobody or limited work has been done to address the parameter in GHG emission contoh. So, orang tak buat lagi. So, you kata you akan contribute kat situ. So, that is novelty lah. So, normally what we want is you highlight on the contribution lah. For example, you will say that PhD ni selalu, if I'm not mistaken, based on how to say based on I attended one lecture session by this one prof. He mentioned that for PhD we need to have 3 new contribution. Okay, for example, you run a kinetics on pyrolysis using microwave. So that has not been done by anyone else. So that is one contribution. So you can highlight that lah. Okay, as part of you punya contribution of knowledge lah. Okay, so this novelty memang kena nak tak nak, however allergic you are to the term novelty, you must know how to answer this. You can always practice it with your supervisor, the best apa orang kata, the best person to practice it with, or otherwise you can practice it with your friends lah. Okay, and don't get annoyed if your friends ask you some question, because sometimes to me when I start to discuss with my friend and the question yang dia tanya tu I tak boleh jawab, I think I like that, because that shows whether or not I'm ready or do I have knowledge on that to address what he or she asked me during the session. Okay. Next, among the question that they ask, what is the reason for selecting this research question? Okay, so you offer, student often generalize by highlighting that you are interested in the topic, but what the examiner are looking for is that they want to hear the specification of your interest in the topic. You may address by stating the most interesting aspect of your research and the reason of choosing the research question over another topic from the same domain. Okay, and then yang ni memang selalu, even myself pun akan tanya, what are the central focus of this research? Kalau bahasa pasarnya, I akan tanyalah siapa hero? Apa hero you dalam you punya research ni? Okay, what is the central focus? Okay, because sometimes you're just doing too many activities in your research that you do not know your main focus is where? Kan kat mana? Dekat developing catalyst ke? Or dekat getting the product ke? Okay, you need to know where is your central focus. And then only you can, you will make examiner faham lah. So most students, they just summarize the research and what we are looking for is that you need to talk about the area of primary focus of your research, and most importantly, in order to demonstrate the viability of your research, it is essential to identify some of the key questions being addressed. Okay, so yang ni penting lah so you can practice lah this question, tanya dengan supervisor, boleh practice dengan supervisor or your friends. Okay. Here, what are the major motivation of this research? Ini basically is quite straightforward lah. You can focus on what inspired you to carry this research. You may cite certain instances which help you select this topic as well as field for your research project. For example, I'm doing on apa orang kata, biomass energy, using palm biomass. Kenapa yang I sibuk sangat nak convert this palm biomass nak jadi charcoal? Because the fact that we want to make sure there is renewable energy that could replace coal. So that's why I want to study that topic lah, kan? Okay, what do you understand by some fundamental study statement lah? Yang ini, you like it or not, you must make sure you have your fundamental right. Student ramai masalah di sini because they don't read. They simply do their research based on what the supervisor asks them to do. But I punya advice ialah you need to read what are the key fundamental knowledge that govern you punya research domain. Okay, highlight key fundamental scientific knowledge and relate them to your work. And then why don't you include the study of X in this work? Ramai jawab macam ni, oh my supervisor said no need to include. I don't have time to do it. It is not in the scope of study. Okay, so what we want you is that we want to see the extent of your knowledge, not just on the specific research topic, but also around research domain that is related. Show that you have done your literature search and use them to justify your answer. Okay, this one, for example, in my case, my examiner, they asked me because I'm doing pyrolysis, thermochemical conversion, which under that section we have pyrolysis, gasification, torrefaction, and combustion. So just recently they find this new method which is torrefaction, and he asked why don't I include this torrefaction in the study. Okay, so I explained to him what is meant by that study and why it's not being included. So they accept he accept the justification lah. But what important is that you need to show him or her or to the examiners that you know your research. Okay, you study, you read them, and you know that this is not much related, therefore you buat lah. So more question, other question lah. Ni list and the list continues. Okay, using your own word, what is your thesis? So you need to highlight the key findings. Yang ni memang please practice lah. Selalu orang akan tanya. Tak payah tunjuk slide, boleh tak you cerita sikit? What's your thesis are all about? Okay, your own words. Okay, maybe bila dia tanya macam tu because you seems do not know what you are trying to explain. Sebab you terlalu scripted by the slide. So kita nak tengok if you're not scripted, do you know what's going on? Okay. And then where do current technologies fail such that you could make contribution? Ini akan lead to the novelty question lah. So current technology fails here. Yours to address that particular problems in that current technology. So that is also the contribution lah, novelty lah. Yeah. In your research domain, who are your closest competitor? You need to know, and how different is your work as compared to others. Please, yeah. This one is important. I remember I was being asked this question as well. Who are your main list 5 main references yang lebih kurang kerja macam you? You need to read. Okay. What are the recent development in your subject area? How and where do you think your work is relevant to the government and world direction? Yang ni you boleh highlight. Kita selalu orang akan sebut on SDG, things like that. COP26 lah. Sekarang I baru nampak ada keluar apa nama? Dasar tenaga kalau kat Malaysia lah kan. So you need to make sure you are being up to date with the current government or world direction lah. Which part of your work is worth publishing? Could be publishable, and where will you publish it? This one I was being asked this question, and you need to highlight which yang dah publish, which one yang tak publish. Because why? This also relates to novelty, because most of the time journal publisher, they would not publish your work if they don't find any novelty. So once it's that's one tips juga lah. If you publish your work in journals, especially kalau yang dapat Q1, Q2, Q4, most of the time you will get your Viva session easy lah. Okay, because why? The fact that your work has been reviewed by other experts. So that's why you punya session tu memang sekejap sahaja. So that is one of the tips that you have to do lah. Okay. Okay, the next one, the round 2 that I mentioned is on thesis specific question. They will go chapter by chapter. I will go chapter by chapter. So normally I'll go in this manner. The first one is on chapter 1, introduction. Then chapter 2, chapter 3. And then I'll go on chapter 4, which is result and discussion. Then I'll go for conclusion and recommendation. We'll check the references if we have time, but some examiners dia skip sahajalah, because kadang-kadang dia comment saja. Okay, and then we go back to abstract, and lastly we'll go to thesis title. Okay, once we know the content, then we'll go to abstract. We'll see whether it's relevant ke tidak, and then we go back to the thesis title. Sometimes you'll change the thesis title, sometimes you maintain lah. Okay, so that's one thing. Thesis specific question, ni depend on your area. I give in a general form sajalah. Okay, so question are mostly centralized around the statement made or data provided in chapter 1. Okay, most of the time student akan ditanya dengan statistik, okay, data. Yang kedua ialah problem statements. Yang ketiga is objective, because problem statement and objective you ni kalau tak connected to each other memang akan sentiasa ditegur. Okay, sometimes you are being asked for why do you write statements sekian. Okay, so that statement tu, that's why I kata you need to read your thesis. Tanya balik soalan ni nak cakap apa sebenarnya. So and then kalau I put a tick on notes tu everywhere on my page. So when they say, okay, can you turn to page 3? So if nothing on my page, on page 3, no sticky note on page 3, that means I'm okay. That means I already read through, tak ada masalah. But if the page that they minta I turn on to is full of sticky notes, that would mean I need to come up with possible answer lah. That means ada banyak masalah lah kat situ. Okay, so that's why yang you prepare the answer. You need to prepare the answer. Okay. Alright, so come back to here. What are the current statistics? Why the data provided is old data? Selalunya dia akan highlight kat sini. Could you really highlight your problem statement on your own words, and how does that relate to objective? Why do you not include subject X in your research? Okay, yang ni apa yang kita nak tengok ialah you need to highlight dia dekat scope and limitation. If you don't include certain subject or certain ni, you must highlight it clearly dekat scope and limitation. Where do you get the data from? Which reference you use? Okay, ni selalulah. So examiners expect good flow or storyline to why the topic is selected, and specific problems around the research domain with correct relation of theory and existing problems to be solved. Okay, problem statement is correct, i.e. specifically identify that leads to the objective of research. Most students mistakenly thought thought that background problem is a problem statement. Okay, background problem is just a background, so it's not a real problem statement. So yang ini ramai salah. Even I myself pun yang buat PhD pun masih tak betul lagi. So it's orang kata kena try betulkan lah. Alright. Current data or statistic is being used. Justification on why selected scope and limitation are well written. Clear research conceptual framework, and free from any typo, technical errors, and misleading statement, and so on and so forth. Okay. I think some of the students memang tulis itu annoying because too much typo errors. Okay. Please minimize. What you need to do is all these typo, technical errors, misleading ni kadang-kadang because of the language, so make sure you proofread your thesis lah. Okay. Next, we go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 concerns about literature review. Selalu orang akan tanya, what are the gaps from your literature review? How does that subtopic relate to your central focus in the research? Why do you include the subject when it has no direct relation to the main subject matter? Sometimes you terlalu fokus pada, that's why I mentioned about siapa main hero. You need to know what is your central focus, what is your main hero. Kebanyakan student dia duk cerita yang bukan main hero ni. So that's why yang orang jadi tak boleh nak follow. Okay. So yang kat situ pun kena ada some practice lah. How many previous research work have you analysed to draw the gap in your research? Ini kena tahu. And what are the justification of considering the techniques in comparison to the existing technique that used to by other researchers? Ni typical tak adalah kata ED yang akan ditanya. It depends on your thesis. But what we are looking for is that some clear introduction of subject matter and its relation to central focus of the study, a clear flow of gap analysis that lead to the proposed methodology, and clear comparison of justification of the chapter. Okay. If you are lucky, if your chapter 2 is well written, tak ada soalan di chapter 2. I've seen that some students, chapter 2 is clear, tak ada apa dia highlight, so no question. And they move chapter 3. Most of the time, chapter 3 akan antara yang paling banyak soalan. Okay. Well, they will check whether your equations, method, approaches used in chapter 3 kata apa, in an orderly manner lah. So, how do you do sampling? What standard method that you use? Okay, ramai tak sebut kat sini. What are the sampling techniques they use? What are the standard method that they use? Okay, what are other available model equation that and why do you select the model? Okay, you don't have the justification of that. Okay, then how many replication do you do? So you need to highlight in your punya research. Okay, how you test the reproducibility, repeatability of your analysis. Okay, we expect a clear methodology design to address the objective research. Selalunya sometimes student punya method design dia tidak highlight pun, tidak relate kepada your research objective. Kat sini yang selalu akan jadi masalah lah. That's why yang ada yang akan dapat major correction. Okay, method selected not well justified, and experimental framework are clear and easy to understand. Alright, so this is chapter 4. Chapter 4 ni macam-macam soalan akan ada based on how you present your result. So sebagai contoh yang orang akan tanya is, what is the standard deviation of your result in table X? Okay, maksudnya, why they highlight on standard deviation? Because they want to have some trust. So in this case, they have trust issue with your result. How do I know your results ni is apa orang kata, reliable? Okay, make sure you have the standard deviation or any other means of reliability lah. What is the significance of the value obtained? What does it imply or mean? Dan ini adalah selalu menjadi masalah kepada pelajar. You get the results, you do not know what it means. Okay, so what? So if you can answer that question, then you selamat lah. If you cannot answer that question, tolonglah cari jawapan untuk your Viva. Okay, because setiap value there must be apa orang kata, meaning to it. And then if you get this value, so what? And so what? Okay, so what means the reason, the justification lah. And then for example here, what is the reason, justification of the trend? How does your value compare to previous work? Yang ni pun ramai missing, dia tak letakkan ada previous work. When you write, ideally you need to highlight which table you want to refer to. You explain about the trend, you explain why, or you reason why they are behaving that way, the scientific reason to that, and try to compare with other works, whether you get the results atau tidak. Compare. So if you have all these four, then your result and methodology memang tak masalah lah. Jaranglah orang nak tanya dig in detail, okay? And what is the fundamental theory to explain the behavior? Ramai tak buat So, how does the result obtained from the selected equation compared to others? You don't do comparison, you just state sahaja and so on and so forth lah. So what we expect is that a clear result representation with good flow, good explanation of the trends obtained and comparison with other researchers' work, and result obtained are reliable with evidence clearly presented. Sometimes you present tables, you present figures yang tidak clear, yang tidak jelas. It's like you main letak je. So that's memang akan menantilah kemarahan. So jangan naikkan kemarahan examiners lah. So that's also one tip lagi. Alright. Now, how to screw your Viva session lah. Common mistake Okay, common mistake, I would touch on the thesis structure. Okay. Selalunya sebab kita tak evaluate benda lain, kita evaluate you punya thesis. Yang presentation is just to apa orang kata, nak summarize what have you found lah kan. Okay. Thesis presentation is choppy. I still remember this statement. Ada satu examiner ni memang dia marah sangat. Your thesis is choppy. There's no continuation. Sekejap you cakap A, sekejap you cakap B, sekejap you cakap C. There's no continuation or relation between A to B, B to C, C to D. Tak ada langsung. So it's not nice to read. So ini memang akan mendatangkan marah lah. So memang examiner pada waktu tu memang marah. And the word is choppy, dia memang come from him. Okay, poor level of written English. Please proofread. You tak boleh nak proofread sendiri, you hantar orang lain proofread. You boleh minta request your supervisor to read. Okay, but some supervisor, they don't read the thesis, to the extent that they nak betulkan English. But some supervisor, they do that lah. Okay, because they feel it's the responsible of the supervisor as well. But kalau tak ada pun, pergilah proofread. Alright. Inconsistent justification, inaccurate explanation of theory. You punya theory tu salah atau inaccurate. You have some contradicting statement. Yang ini memang orang kata apa, So, be careful before you submit. Make sure whatever statement yang ada contradiction, please revisit. Okay. Objectives not clear, not cohesive, methodology not extensive, part of thesis not included. Ada juga students who submitted thesis, some of the references, some of the pages missing. Yang ini memang mendatangkan marah lah. I bila ingat balik pun nak marah. Okay. Because dia ganggu lah your comment juga. Examiner dia kena bagi comment. So bila ada yang tak ada, dia kacau lah kan. Okay. And poor format of thesis, referencing tables and pictures and captions. Okay. So maksudnya semua nak perfect lah. Right. That's on thesis structure. This one I'm going to talk about the candidate behavior lah. The problem, the most common issue dengan Viva session ni ialah the students are not defending the thesis. Okay? If I say, I rasa you punya ni tak boleh dapat master lah, you akan cakap apa? Ya ke? Oh ya, itulah. Kesian kat saya. Takkan you cakap macam tu, right? Okay? Please, if someone say that I don't think you deserve a master from this work, you need to stand back, okay? You need to stand and say that I would like, I mean, kena cakap baik-baik lah, janganlah kau bergaduh pula kan, okay? Please defend that statement. Okay, with my due respect, I think I would like to highlight that I think I could get this master's thesis because I've made contribution to this. I've studied this, I've studied that. Okay, so cakap elok-elok lah. But not defending is, I think, is not right lah. Selalu bila orang poke sikit you, yelah tak apa. Nodding and keeping silent is not acceptable. Kalau tanya I lah, itu selalu ramai buat. To one extent macam kita kata, chairperson kena cakap, tolong jawab soalan boleh tak? Sebab semua soalan ditanya tidak dijawab. Itu boleh mengubah results or verdict that examiner would like to give. Because why? Out of 5 questions, only 1 question that you answer. So please don't do that. Okay? So what you need to do is actually you need to just answer politely and carefully je lah. If you think that it's too difficult, you can always request to rephrase the question. Exactly, sorry, I think I'm lost. What exactly that you want, ya? Kalau orang kata dah tak tahu, tak faham sangat soalan, you boleh tanya macam tu. Tak ada masalah. Okay? Kita manusia juga because we here nak tolong. Okay? Kita bukan along tapi kita datang nak tolong. Alright? So you don't master your own thesis. This is also a major no-no. You do not know what's going on with your thesis. Yang ni I think ada candidate yang dapat major and reviver because it's so questionable that ini tak tahu, tu tak tahu, ni tak tahu. So that's why they get the major and reviver. So fundamental knowledge is weak. So please have fully proof research background covering all aspects of your research domain. Yang ni sedih lah. You buat PhD, you buat master, we expect you have good knowledge of what is around your research domain, but eventually you don't have that fundamental. So quite sad lah. We don't want you to buat master for the sake of getting the scroll, but actually we want you to get with essence lah. Okay, you answer without care. Okay, candidate answer without care maksudnya you menjawab je. Ya Allah budak ni. Okay, I think I remember at that time one instances whereby just to happen the area is the same. Kata ya Allah dia ni salah jawab. Ni salah jawapan ni memang kena dia ni. Itu yang I kata examiner setiap bank major. Okay, because you menjawab je Okay, too defensive without substance. Yang ni pun not good. Okay, and also rude. You start to raise your voice with your examiner. So be careful with that. Alright, so because the verdict is always with the examiner. So chairperson pun tak boleh buat apa. Chairperson boleh bagi orang kata self-doubt to examiners. But if dia kata no, I'm not going, then kalau you dapat verdict, major lah. Kalau fail lah. Right? Okay. So strategy, I think I'm about to complete my session sikit lagi. A successful or strategy. Again, as mentioned, prepare, know your thesis inside out, including references. Okay, predict possible questions asked. As I mentioned tadi lah, baca. Always have backup plans. Presentation not going well. Yang ni always problem dengan online session lah. Even on face-to-face pun, I always make sure I have backup on my pen drive and in my laptop. In fact, bring another laptop or pinjam siapa-siapa punya laptop just in case if it don't work well. Okay, kita tak nak ada any hiccups. It must go. Okay. And then know your examiners. Again, I mentioned tadi, stay calm and relax. Okay. Do something that makes you happy and motivated. Do not panic, and most importantly is know your staff. Arrange a mock Viva. It's a good practice. Even though I'm not sure sekarang punya practice macam mana in college. But if it's not formally, you can always call up your friends, call up some lecturers or someone yang good in the area to have that mock Viva lah. and practice make perfect. I'm happy that I have that mock Viva because I'm a person who just do not know how to answer question. But with that session, then we know, oh, okay, if this question, this is how we have to answer it. All right. And then defense. Okay. Defense. Okay. How to do that? Listen to the question carefully. You can always request to repeat or rephrase the question, but make sure you do it politely. I'm sorry. I think I don't hear it well just now. Could you please repeat or could you please rephrase? This is the thing that you want. Tanyalah. So sometimes kita dah terlalu serabut. You have all the answer, but you just do not know which one is the right answer, kan? So you can always request balik lah what type of answer that dia nak tanya. Okay, answer the question first, then elaborate or justify. Yang this is the art of answering question lah. Selalu, most of the time, I tak cakap orang, I myself pun kadang-kadang begitu. Most of the time, you too excited to answer the question to the extent that you don't answer the question. Okay, you elaborate dulu, pergi tak mana-mana. My supervisor kata, engkau nak pergi KL tapi engkau suruh pergi Amerika, pusing Australia, baru sampai KL. Orang tanya, how to go to KL from Shah Alam. Tapi you cerita sampai pergi Amerika, sampai pergi Australia, baru sampai Shah Alam. So don't do that. So answer the question directly. If you need to elaborate or justify later. Okay. And then this is most important part. Answer only when being asked. Dia tanya baru jawab. Tak tanya jangan jawab. Aku ni sebenarnya ada buat salah ni, nak kena justify ke? Don't. When they ask, you justify. When they don't ask, just keep quiet. If you need to betulkan je lah. Cakap dengan supervisor saya, betulkan. Okay. Do not take risk to to clarify question that is not being asked. Calculate your risk. Okay. And request a comment to compose your answer, but not taking the whole of time. I practice this. I advise my friend to do this as well, and so far it helps us lah. Okay, what we do is that I am not sure what are the answer for that question, so I request a moment because I think that remember that I mentioned on the page on my thesis page I have sticky note. Just to happen the question is being asked on that sticky note, but I need to answer it nicely so that I don't get caught. So I request some time to compose the answer. Okay, so compose the answer and you answer. If they ask again, you answer again. Ask again, you answer again. Kalau you rasa macam you nak compose elok-elok, okay, request a moment. They'll give you some time. Okay, but it won't, but don't take a long time lah. Alright. Okay. And then first impressions matters. First impression not only to your because kita physical, but also to you punya slide lah. That give an impression to you that you are a competent researcher. Okay. Dress well, yet not overdressed. Ini kalau yang face to face not overdressed. Nicely prepared slide will complement impression too. Okay. Location and timing, always check. Yang online ke or physical meeting, make sure you check your location and timing. Okay, so don't miss that opportunity. Alright, just want to share some of experience. Waktu I organize the Viva session, it's apa kata, a pleasant experience jugalah pada saya. Student gave birth on the day of Viva. Habis Viva je terus nasib baik waktu tu dah contraction lah. Waktu Viva tu Okay, examiner came with a newborn baby. I kena jadi babysitter. Dia datang dengan stroller because dia kata I don't want to extend sebab kesian dekat student. I don't want to postpone the Viva session because dia kesian dekat student tapi dia bawa dengan baby. So we have to be the babysitter. Alright. The Viva involve a visit to the lab. Yang ni memangnya I kata the whole day tu. Okay. Examiner did not receive the thesis, hence delays evaluation and Viva. So yang ini selalu terjadi. So it's a good practice if you can always recheck dengan you punya KPPS on the status of your thesis. Because there are cases whereby, in my case, I think that's why the delay. I think sepatutnya 3 bulan, dia jadi 4 bulan. Because examiner tak dapat that thesis. Okay. Examiner not satisfied with the whole thesis, requesting for major Viva, major revision. So kat sini yang chairperson main peranan lah. If you feel, you also need to know that this memang Betul ke major revision? Sometimes it's just require minor revision, but the term major and minor with his institution and with QITM is different. So it's actually a minor here, but in his institution it's actually major. Okay, yang tu kena tengok balik. Okay, ni I kata Viva to a whole day. Major mistake in experimentation affecting the discussion of the thesis. At least one objective is questionable. Yang ni ada So ini major correction. Yang ni jadi is a major correction. An examiner determined to fail the student. Okay. So the chairperson is actually play an important role to consolidate the decision. Okay, yang ni memang kalau boleh memang play, the role of the chairperson lah. Alright, so that actually conclude my presentation. So basically just do well, doa, get ready mentally, physically, emotionally, physically, and then strive to excellence and tawakal. Enjoy the journey, celebrate the event with your loved one, regardless the outcome, and accept the outcome. Okay, I think regardless what the outcome is, one important point that you get is at least you know where you are now. You get full comments of that. And it's a matter of you redo the correction, or if you need to do the experiment again, but at least you know what to do. Okay? So don't feel bad about that. Even if you get major, don't feel bad about that. Okay? Just to share you some memories. So these are all my panels, my two supervisors, my examiners and my chairperson. Okay. Lepas tu dah boleh lah bergambar dengan PhD punya. PhD ada topi apa? Orang panggil apa? Topi penyet ni kan. Okay, ni my son lahir waktu I buat PhD. You pergilah ambil gambar dah dapat tu. You pergilah tunjuk. Enjoy the moment lah senang cerita. So these are some of the memories with my because I have KPPS, I arrange ni. So kita ada photography session. So we have all the session lah. Okay, ni this is one of my friend di Jerman. Dia punya celebration, dia orang sediakan hat that represent dia punya kerja lah. Ni kawan-kawan dia punya kerja. So it's quite interesting to know that they have that session. So we also have an online session here, Viva Voce. Semua orang muka senyum sebab dah lepas. Regardless what, dah habis Viva tu, you deserve a orang kata rest lah. Okay, these are my support system just to share with you, my family and my friends. I think that's all. Thank you very much. I think we go with this question and answer session lah. Dr. ni.
Okay,
Dr.
thank you, Dr. Shawal. Okay,
Alright.
thank you for the hour-long explanation on the process of Viva, explaining the do's and don'ts and also the tricks and how to not screw the Viva session. So actually we have some questions. If you have any question, you can just unmute and then you can introduce yourself, and then you can pose your question directly to the speakers. Along the time I will try to pick up some question from the attendance list that I provided here. But if you have any question that you would like to ask directly to Dr. Shawal, you can please do so.
Ada soalan ke? I dah cover semua.
I think most of it dah cover.
Most of it dah cover kan?
Yes. But I have a question over here. How do you know that your research is good enough for PhD?
How do you know your research is good enough for PhD? As I mentioned just now, you need to make sure that you have 3 new contribution. Your research tu akan beri 3 new contribution. Okay, I give you some example. For example, in my case, I'm doing panggil apa? Oil palm biomass pyrolysis using microwave technique. Okay, just to happen at my time, tak ada orang pun yang convert my palm biomass guna microwave technique. So that is one new contribution. Whatever study that I do, that is one contribution. Okay. Yang kedua, when I studied, bila I dah convert dengan micropyrolysis, I dapat this charcoal daripada micropyrolysis, co-combust study dengan coal. Tiada orang buat lagi. Okay. So that is another contribution. So whatever study that you do the effect of that, the effect of this in the conversion analysis, that is also a contribution lah. There is another contribution that you can find. In my case, I have kinetics because it's a thermal punya system. So I study the kinetics during combustion and co-combustion or pyrolysis. That is another contribution. So if you have three new contribution, so macam mana nak tahu new means you have to compare with the existing research. If that is considered new, then that is suit for your PhD research lah. Okay. And
Okay.
I see someone unmute dia punya ni tadi mic.
Okay, boleh ask question directly.
Silakan. Ada yang nak tanya?
Belum ada. Maybe I can ask one question from our list over here. Okay, so most of you ask about Viva session. Is it held online or face to face? Okay, on the PG office side, we're still doing it on on online basis. So just prepare on that. Okay.
Now I see one question, Viva date is given or we can propose the date?
Okay.
Syafiq lah jawab.
Okay, for Viva date, for Viva date is actually the most important thing that we are trying to get is the date for the examiner. Okay, we are going to get the date of the examiners. For student, you are actually preparing the slide and presentation if you're already working. So normally we will inform you 1 week earlier. Okay, 1 week at the least one is the 3 days earlier. That one kalau dah terlampau apa tu so sudden lah kan, the date is being given by the examiner so sudden. So we try to get as fast as possible. We'll get the date from the examiners and then we'll try to find the chairperson as well as minute taker. And then as everything is already confirmed, we will provide to you the date and then invitation link for the Viva session. What else? Okay, Doctor, is it true that the panel will go easy to the candidate if the candidate is a master student? Dr. Shah, mute.
Okay. The question, what was the question again?
Is it true that the sorry?
Before we continue, boleh tak you all scan this Mentimeter? I just want to see some reflection lah. How do you feel after the session and what is your action plan towards your surviving the Viva Voce? Nanti you scan, I want to see dia punya respon student. Okay. Soalan tadi
is it true that the panel will go easy on you if they know it is a master student?
Not necessarily. Yeah. Dia tanya ni, it's not necessarily. If you're PhD student pun, they will give. Remember that I mentioned ada yang dapat Viva, the verdict is without correction, result 1. That one is PhD student. So, kalau nak kata it will go easy on you, if you have papers, yang tu I rasa true. Yang tu I rasa true. If you have good papers, good publication related to your project research, that is true. Okay. My personal experience, the section on my research result and discussion, I think my external examiner only asked like 2 or 3 question only. 2 or 3 question only. So memang tak banyak. Siap internal saya kata, kau dah habis tanya soalan? Kenapa tak tanya lagi? Because we publish, I think we just to happen that time I published 2 journal papers in Q1. Actually 3 journal papers in Q1. So 2 is my own writing, the other one is co-writing. Yep.
Okay. So there's another question in the chat box, Doctor. Is there a possibility that the examiner asks us to show the raw data file?
Okay. There are possibilities, so just make sure you organize them well. There are possibilities. If they find that if they are not satisfied with whatever that because sometimes they try to find why do you get these results, okay, and then you might say, oh, this is based on my raw data. They would like to go to that extent. just in that case, just get ready with your data file lah, raw data file. Make sure it's organized lah. Yep. Another tips, because we have only 30 minutes or 20 minutes, 20 minutes for MSc, 30 minutes for PhD. So if you have other data, you prepare a separate presentation, okay, well presented data. If they want to see, then you can show lah on that slide. Okay, that's also another tips yang I nampak ramai jugalah supervisors prepare student dia begitu.
Yeah,
Okay, you
backup
prepare
slides.
separate slide. Yeah, backup slides.
Normally that
Yeah,
one is
backup data.
placed after the thank you session lah.
Pun boleh. Yes.
Okay, so that is already being open ready. Okay, so okay, how can we handle the examiner that always ban the student when the student answer the question? Means that they have a different approach or different methodology in their study.
Sorry?
Means that the school of thought of between the student and examiner is not the same lah. So how do you handle that kind of examiner?
How do you handle that kind of examiner? School of thought tak sama ya. School of thought tak sama ni maksudnya orang ni nak ni dia okay.
Examiner does not agree with the methodology. How do you conduct the research tu?
Both examiners?
Based on the question, maybe just one word.
I think this is painting sana tu memang major terus lah kan. Okay. For your information, sometimes it will come back to your supervisor as well. Okay. Normally that's why the chairperson to play an important role lah. Okay. If there is two contradictory apa orang kata school of thought, chairperson should try to moderate lah benda tu. Maksudnya which one yang examiner the two examiners agree to accept whatever the student are writing ataupun memang agree to accept which one punya. Yang itu memang chairperson kena buat keputusan. Okay, because before you leave the Viva session, if it's new comments or new ruling, minutes taker will jot down the new requirement lah. Yeah. I hope that answer you well. Yes. Silakan.
Any question? Yes, any question? Sorry. Ataupun dia lupa mute tu. Okay. Any other last minute questions?
Ada soalan?
Okay. So I think that concludes our session, Doctor.
I hope I cover. I think I covered them all. I already looked into the list of questions earlier, but I think I covered them all. So
yes,
hopefully it's orang kata it's insightful lah to all the students. So that you can prepare well lah for your Viva. And I wish you all the best. One thing is that just enjoy the moment lah. Although it's stressful.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Shawal. So as what we already heard from Dr. Shawal, Viva is actually for you to be able to confirm the knowledge that you already translated dalam you punya thesis. Okay, so for you to be able to answer the question by the examiners, it shows the level of knowledge that you have and also the level of understanding and the degree that you're going to receive later on. So just slides, okay, So Doctor, they are requesting the slide. Is it possible if I share? Yeah,
I can share. Dr. Syafiq ada sedikit, I nampak ada sedikit typo. I try to betulkan dulu, nanti I bagi balik. Yeah?
Boleh. Okay.
Alright.
So those I will share dalam the respective WhatsApp group lah. Okay. The respective WhatsApp group, so we can get over there. So as a conclusion, I think you have to do some practices because as I see during the Viva session in the previous months, so there are some students that tak prepare, is not prepared for the Viva session. So it's good if you have a mock Viva session with your supervisors. If you don't have one, request one from your supervisors. Okay, so he or she will know who is the examiner that will be that can help you in the mock Viva session. Okay, so another one, if you are trying to find the answer in your thesis, and it's going to take a long time, so make sure you read your thesis before you enter the Viva session, because you submit the thesis 3 months before, 4 months before, so you need to read your own work back okay, before you enter the Viva session. So with that, I would like to say thank you to the shower. So maybe we can open up your cameras for a photo session, girl. We'll give you 1 to 2 minutes to open up. Okay. Okay, so let's take a photo over here. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more time. Ready? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thumbs up. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so with that, thank you everyone. I hope to see you again for the next
Thank you semua.
webinar.